Okay, good morning. My name is Tyson King, and I'm VP Corporate Development of Kuya Silver. With me, I have David Stein, President and CEO of the company. David, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you, Tyson?
I'm great, thank you. Silver's running; it's an exciting time. Looking forward to see what this next few weeks bring for the industry.
Yeah, I mean we're speaking today on Monday, the February 1st, and it's been a very interesting weekend. We've seen a lot of new retail interests come in silver. A lot of new investors are looking at silver for the first time, and it's really a great opportunity for our sector. I mean, I think silver is it's got really strong fundamentals anyway, and now that we've got more eyes looking at it than we have in quite some time, probably in 10 plus years. This is a great opportunity. I think it bodes really well for the silver price, and of course for our project as well.
Yeah, I caught your conversation on Arcadia Economics yesterday. I highly recommend anyone who's listening to this right now to go back and listen to that roundtable discussion of the silver sector and what's going on right now. Okay, so let's try something new here. We've received a number of follow-up questions from your webinars and your presentations. So we want to take this chance to maybe do a Q&A session where we can answer any of the most frequently asked questions. So keep those questions coming to us. This is great. We love having these so we can have this general conversation. Just send them to info@kuyasilver.com, or you can also go to our website, our contact page, and you can submit your question at the bottom there. So let's just dive right into this, David. Okay, so one of the most frequent questions I'm receiving, and I'm sure you are too, is just about the upcoming drilling program. Maybe you can talk about timing, where we plan on drilling, and the amount of meterage that we have planned.
Sure, that's a really important question. So we're planning our phase one drill program right now. That's what calling it internally, and it's going to be 5,000 meters. If you could put the long section up, Tyson. We're going to target. So first of all, what's going on at site right now is we're doing the construction and the site preparation necessary, basically to prepare to receive the drills at site in the next several weeks. And then and obviously once that happens, once we're done basically that preparation work, we can start drilling. So that should be in the next few weeks. So anyway, so we're drilling 5,000 meters. 4,000 meters of that drill program is going to be targeted in the main mine area. So we've got in those two lower levels of the mine, that's where the majority of the sort of resource is not 43-101 compliant, but that's where we expect that we'll be mining in the first few years. And so we'll be targeting those to hit those areas with some deeper holes. And of course, we're going to be setting up the whole program on surface this time. We may drill underground later on in the year, but for now we're drilling from surface. We're going to set up those holes. And so we're targeting them in a way that we should be able to hit some of our other veins on the way down. So the drill holes can hit multiple veins in one single hole, and obviously give us some information at depth, in particular on the two bigger veins, which is the Doce de Mayo and the Espanola vein. So we will be looking to kind of stretch the deposit at depth a little bit. But more importantly, give us the data that we need to help us plan the mine. And then with the other 1,000 meters, we're going to be drilling in the Espanola Doce area, so about 20% of the program. And we already know where that vein is, so it's kind of a lower risk target. And we're gonna drill into it and see if we can start defining things over there in that central area. And then what we can do in the next program, phase two, is start walking it back and connect it up to the main mine area. We do, geologically, the veins are very similar, if not identical. So we do think that we'll be able to move basically connect them up under the hill, and that could add quite a lot of resource for us at shallow levels, which is also nice. So that'll be something that we'll focus on a little later in the year.
So one of the questions that I've actually received over the weekend here is in regards to our stockpile, and obviously it's related to just how silver is having some positive movement. Maybe you can just dive a bit deeper into that and have a conversation with me about what our stockpile is, the history of it, and what we plan on doing with it in the near future.
Sure. So when they were mining in the past, they would essentially, dump lower grade material outside the mine, and so the lower grade material is still quite high grade. Remember that we've got a very high grade mine here, 15 ounces per ton head grade recently, and it would have been even higher in the more distant past when they were doing even smaller tonnages. So the mine the produces this high grade, and then they dump this lower grade material. Back in 2013, in fact, independent group came up to site and estimated that the grade of the stockpile at the time was 10 ounces per ton, about that. And then there's likely been more material dumped since then, as they did operate the mine for a few more years after that. So we've got this stockpile in it's actually several different piles, but it's on the side of the hill where the portals are. So you can point to some of those squares on there. Those would be historical portals going into the side of the hill on the western side of the mine, and they basically would just dump right there where it was convenient. So we know where all those piles are, and we can go back and now with silver prices higher, it could be something that we may want to take advantage of. We in the short term, as a potential something we could potentially process. The other option is we could essentially use that for commissioning, low grade commissioning, as a way to test the mill. That's what you commonly do when you're sort of testing your mill before you run it with your proper run of mine ore. You test it with some other material first. So we may do one or the other. We may do both, but it is a great asset that we do have, and there is more information in the 43-101 report about the historical view of that stockpile.
Okay, and just to add to that, you can download our 43-101 on our website at the bottom there. There's a button for the technical report. Okay, so again, this is something that comes up a lot. I'm sure you get asked it as well. It's related to COVID. How has it affected our timeline? Has it pushed us back at all, or do we see ourselves being on schedule as originally have discussed?
Yeah, very fair question. Look, I would say in the short term, it does definitely affect us here and there, a week or so here and there. Just stepping back, what we decided to do. So the Peruvian government allowed the mining industry to reopen actually starting last May, June. So as a strategic industry, we are permitted to do certain things. And obviously, if we were actually mining at this point, we'd be allowed to continue to mine. But one of the prerequisites of going back into operation and actually having people at site is that we had to file a new health and safety plan that factors in the new COVID protocols. And we weren't really able to do that through the previous owners. We essentially ended up deciding to wait until we took legal control of the mine, and then we did that certification ourselves. So that is now done. We closed the acquisition in December, and we have the certification now. So we are getting more active at site right now. The Peru has initiated another lockdown in central Peru. That does affect. That is where we're located. However, as a mining operation, we are able to carry out activities related to mine and mine development at site. So I don't think we'll be slowed down too much by that. And if we do look at the longer term, the actual production targets that we're looking at, I wouldn't say that it's really moved dramatically, if at all, from our original targets. We still think we could be putting something through the mill, maybe commissioning towards the end of this year, and then targeting full production in early 2022.
Okay. Here's a question, something that we've received a lot ever since our last presentation we had. Can you just dive deeper into the financial position of the company and maybe our estimated CapEx cost for the upcoming build that we have planned?
Sure. So, I mean, without sort of getting into financials that we haven't reported yet, what we can say is that, public knowledge, we raised $12 million before we did the RTO. The main use of proceeds was to finish buying the mine, as well as basically our pre-development program. But we did buy the mine, purchase the mine in December, so that was 5.5, maybe a bit more when factoring the currency, million Canadian that we paid to the previous owners, and so that's a big that was a big decrease in cash, and then just carrying out our current program. So we're fully funded to carry out our drill program, finish our engineering. We've got the payment to First Cobalt when we close that deal as well. That is also funded with our current cash position. So we're in very good shape for the next several months. Of course, at some point, we do want to start construction of our plant and tailings facility, and that we've said in the past that we thought that would be around 10 million US, or perhaps with maybe a few extra working capital, stuff like that, maybe 15 million Canadian is a better number. But it's going to be in that order of magnitude, and that's something that we'll look to take care of in the coming months before we go into full construction.
So one thing I noticed you guys had a long conversation about over the weekend was about hedging silver. We've received a number of questions last week, so maybe it's a good time to kind of touch again on that. Mostly on, do we as a company plan on hedging silver?
Well, I mean, philosophically, I don't want to hedge silver. Our investors are buying the company because they want exposure to the higher silver price, and I think we want to deliver that. We want to represent that. Now, one thing that's really plays into our hand in a sense is that our costs are going to be really low. We expect low cost for this mine. And we talked about that in the past, and therefore there isn't a lot of pressure on us to necessarily hedge to lock in a certain profit due to having higher costs. So that's so the low costs essentially almost act as their own hedge from a business perspective. And then the other factor is, I guess, how we end up financing the company in the future. We will that could be something that ends up being negotiated with a counterparty, but obviously our strong preference would be to avoid hedging. I mean, at the end of the day, we're in and around $30 an ounce right now, $29-30 an ounce for silver. Silver's hit $50 twice, in the last, I guess few decades. And, there's no magical reason for that 50 number. There's been a lot more inflation, a lot more money printing in the last decade, and particularly since 1980. So there's no reason why the price cannot exceed that $50 target. And I think when it does, we want to be fully exposed to that, because I think the price could go a lot higher at that point.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. Okay, well, why don't we just leave that there? And we'll do this again in the next few weeks. So please keep those questions coming. You can send them to info@kuyasilver.com. And don't forget to follow us on social media on these different various social channels here on the right.